He might come to my clinic and he was trying to force us to take a biopsy.
Well, this is live.
The Awakening 216 is live for the first time.
That's right. The Awakening, Cleveland 216. And we're actually at the baptism right now. Of course, Real Revolution Radio happened way before then, but this is the first initial broadcast of Real Revolution Radio on Periscope. So everybody say hi. There you go, there you go. We got our Real Revolution Radio revolutionaries right here. We got it right there. You can't really see a lot of them because it is, what time is it right now?
It's 8:07.
It's 8:07 at night, and for us Real Revolution Radio revolutionaries, it's got to be something that's more simpler to call us. There's someone in Hawaii, they call them, what do they call it? The Mellow Yellows?
No, Sandy Choi just says, "Oh, my fellow yellows."
My fellow yellows. Okay, so how about us Clevelandites? What do you want to call us? The Mellow Yellows?
You need to come up with something.
Right. So, you know, I mean, this is just the beginning.
That's what. This is something she said.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How about Triple R Warriors? I don't know. No, that's too much.
I think it's more organic. It'll just happen naturally.
It'll happen naturally.
When she just talks,
Yes.
and then it comes out.
Right. Because I know with like a lot of podcasters, their listeners, they call them like something, you know. I know like Oprah Winfrey, she calls like her people something else too, you know.
Oh.
Yeah. So it'll come organically, right?
Yeah.
So I have well, just for people who don't know who I look like, you know, this is me right here. I can't flip around the camera. I don't know how to do it. Again, this is like first time for me, and there's no buttons, right? But since I'm in the business of doing podcasting myself, I do have a talk show, a podcast. It's called Awakening Paradigms, which will be launching on Real Revolution Radio on December 5th. We're going to be having a party, but one of the Real Revolution Radio revolutionaries we have is Alexis here, and she has basically just jumped onto this movement of sorts, and it is something that I didn't really talk to her initially from the very get-go, from the very beginning. It was something that she had found from within on her own journey, and when she started sharing her journey, and then I started sharing mine, it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to even go any further than that to validate it. It was just this feeling.
You just know.
Right. And so I would like to introduce to you Alexis Manalo-Gamble. She's a Clevelandite herself. She is, well, I'm going to have you introduce yourself for the meantime to describe what you're all about real briefly and where we're going to be taking this in the Cleveland area.
Well, I'm Alexis Manalo-Gamble, and I'm all about expression, expressing through art, music, fashion, and interconnecting through passion. So here in Cleveland, there's a lot of talent that light needs to be shined upon. And so just by doing that, through uniting everyone and coming together and being able to rejoice life is really good right now. And so to be able to embrace everything that we're going through and to be able to travel through this journey together, that's the beauty of it. So.
And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But like the many things that you've been doing outside of that, just even 6 months ago when we had launched this urban type of movement amongst the urban rappers within the Cleveland area in itself, and just what you're doing with that and the mindset of the consciousness of what we're doing collaboratively was an amazing thing for me to see from the get-go, and then just to see you on stage and within your own world and just to exemplify that in your speech, I was like purely amazed right there. And that's when I knew that she's on the same path that I am, in collaboration and parallel with everybody else that's experiencing this so-called awakening of sorts.
Exactly. And right now, I mean, everyone going through an awakening, they all know that it can be a lonely journey, and so it does take a lot for one to come out and be able to express what they're going through. So I feel that when you are going through your journey, it's very important to empower those that you come across and let them know that they're not alone, and everyone is going through something. In divine time, everything is always working out, and yeah.
Yeah, and I feel within my heart, just like how everything is manifesting itself within the Cleveland 216 area. Everybody is feeling the same type of energy and is anticipating a movement that they just can't even describe. And can you describe this movement per se that's happening within the area that we just cannot really? I mean, from the get-go, when everything had started in this particular route, nobody really said anything about it, but they just felt about it, and they were just doing things on their own whim. Within the world of yoga, within the world of urban hip-hop and R&B, within their own world of poetry, within their own world of authorship and making their own books, motivational speaking, they were doing their own thing, but then the verbiage that they were relaying out to the masses was something of the same nature as awakening, as movement, as change, not spirit change, but the change that we can promote for each other from within. So if you can kind of describe that movement within towards self type of intonation, if you could do so briefly.
Yeah, and that's the thing is right now with the whole awakening is when you do come across that time where you are facing yourself, you almost feel like you want to go outward for answers or come across, your purpose from the sources outside of who you really are, the true essence of your soul. And so right now I think it's very key, this movement that people are the movement that people are experiencing, so important to embrace that feeling you're going through and know that it is okay to go inward, and all the answers that you ever need, they're all within yourself, and you will never get it from anyone else. So it's all about empowerment. When you learn, empower those to go out there and learn more. And so yeah, right now we might not have the answers to what's going on in the universe, or we might not know where we may end up a week from now or a month from now, but as long as staying in the moment is important to you and knowing that this moment right now that's what means the most. That's all that honestly matters.
Right, and for anybody who has been privy to cartoons, especially with many of the children cartoons as of late, especially from the last 10 years, there's a significant message that's implanted and hidden within a lot of these cartoons, almost subliminally. And even back then, I didn't realize a lot of the messages back then, but just looking back and reruns of those same movies and cartoons coming back to my consciousness now for a particular reason, and I'm basically making reference to Kung Fu Panda, where that whole movie is just a whole bunch of quotations, Buddhist philosophy, a lot of awakening type of wording that's being relayed out to the whole, as far as the New Age movement is concerned. And it's an amazing type of process that's going on throughout the world. And the many messages that are within there, they talk about the present, how the present is actually the gift. And and that's the thing about the future. The future in itself is a manifestation of the present, just as long as you're able to sustain and maintain the beauty of what that present that you're trying to create,
Exactly.
And so I think by you just being here, you energetically just portraying that in your presence, regardless of whether people are conscious of it or not within the area, there is change happening. And that's the significance that we all have when we start to awaken, from this very part of our lives in this journey. I mean, do you have any stories of that? Of just, your presence there and how you see the change all around you that's happening, regardless of whether you're speaking about that movement or not?
I mean, I'm seeing it.
And he's a light.
I'm seeing it all around me. Or I don't want to say seeing it, but
there you are.
more so of feeling it all around me. What was the question again? I need a what?
I want to get like a little bit closer here. Yeah. They're starting to bite. Yeah.
Stand in the light.
The light. Go to the light.
Wearing pants.
Or even like you set right there. Right there.
Over here?
Yeah. That's a lot better. Is that your beer?
I'm getting a drink for myself.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a lot better.
What's the question again?
Oh wow, the change around you. You know, just from you exuding that energy. You know, being the present and seeing that change from everybody around you. You know, if you experience that.
Change for everyone around me. Yeah, something that I've really been noticing are a lot of individuals around me are starting to question the things that are going around, even like with the things that are going on in the news. We see a lot of, I don't want to say only negative things, we see positive things as well, but even with just the negative things, I feel like there are a lot of distractions going on, and then with those distractions comes questions. For some, not all are there yet, but when you do start to question, you do realize that doors start to open up for you. You begin to take on paths that you never thought you would have taken before, and I see that especially with the kids these days. Like my youngest brother, 16 years old, and the stuff that he knows it's just mind-boggling. And you see that with the kids these days. They are outgrowing the system that has been painted for us. What has worked once before, it's no longer working. And that's the thing that we're experiencing right now is instead of trying to fix what's been broken, we need to start creating something new, something positive, something out of love. And, you know, instead of shining light on all of the bad things that are happening, let's shine light on the good things that we do have. Or if there aren't enough good things, then we need to create it. We're the only ones that can create the good. So those are just some of the things that I have been experiencing, and I feel like right now we're in a weird place. Not everyone knows what's going on, but for those that do know, they know that, you know, we're getting messages and symbols sent from the universe every second of the day, to know that everything is being worked out, and just to keep your positive vibes going.
Now for you, interesting enough, just from your conversation many months ago about your plane ride back from, I think it was New York, and you had a vision, per se, of the things that would be happening in the next year or so, and it was just something that was something that you didn't even realize for anything to be. It was something like that just popped up in your head, and you knew it was Cleveland, and you knew it was a movement, and you knew it was something for change. But that in itself has pretty much caused you to open your eyes. So if you could describe that change within yourself, you know.
Well, I was in New York for Fashion Week, and then I ran into a lot of people from Cleveland there, and just talking to them, asking them why they were there, and it's always, oh, you know, I'm trying to make it big, or I'm trying to do that and this. And so bringing back to what I said before is it goes back to, instead of going outward, we need to go inward. And so that goes back to like Cleveland. The way I see it with like New York is there's so many of us going outwards to Atlanta, New York, LA, when really we were blessed with this foundation for us to create. Nothing has been done, or there have been things that have been done before, but that's the point of life, is innovation. We're all creators, and so being on that plane and really just like meditating and, you know, going inward to find answers for myself. What is my purpose? Why am I here? Because I just felt every day I was living life, doing what I love to do, but I didn't feel that I was serving. I didn't have a humanitarian purpose, and so that whole purpose was just visualizing all these beings in Cleveland, Ohio, just coming together and rejoicing and being happy and just spreading positivity and feeling good and just listening to music and art everywhere. That's just what I saw, and I truly, truly believe to this day that once we all discover self, we can accept the individuality and then unite together and create something beautiful that's never been created before.
And the thing of the matter is that this sense of self, this sense of community, it's something that we've forgotten, maybe in the past 50 years because of the many diversions of things, the chaos that's been happening from our so-called involvement with war, with corruption, with just many of the things that it takes focus off of what's most important, which is again the community of things. So I think in my own eyes that the sense of the most ancient ways of how community usually surrounded that mindset of things, it's coming back. It's coming back to our sense of reality now, and people are starting again to open to that. And it's not because anybody's teaching this or preaching this. It's again that direction of going towards the inner self. And we talked about this earlier on the day where we even like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, back in the 80s, we thought that the last frontier was going to be out there, in space, outer space, and then we go further out our solar system. But that's not the case. The last frontier, or even the portalway to the next frontier, is the evolution of finding that self inside. And that in itself is the true interconnection between all spiritualities, all different religions, and that in itself is something that you've experienced by acknowledging self.
Right.
And I think by people acknowledging the fact of what they can discover from the reality of finding that self, that can take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that, and what is your intention of taking it to the next level?
One of the things is, when I do talk about self, life isn't only self. We do have to explore self and discover self to be able to work as a whole. And so we weren't put on this material plane as separate entities. We're here, we're all connected. And so the way I see it, someone actually once asked me, he said, what's more important? We all hold a piece of the puzzle to life. So is that 99.8% more important, or is that 0.01% more important that's missing? And I answered and said that 99.8% is more important because there's more. But truthfully, without that 0.01%, we're not completed. We'll never be completed. And that's how us humans should work. We all carry a piece of our puzzle, which is our sole purpose. And once we all can come together and, put our purpose in together and create something and coexist, that's when I feel like, we'll experience that oneness. But like I said, it goes back to the self. Until we do discover ourself, we will not be able to work together as whole.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally with that, that same type of mind frame and so-called vibration and frequency of things. And we talked about that too as well. And I remember talking to many people from work, family, friends, even just people just coming along the way, just who are interested in what we're even talking about, that we will be speaking this type of content matter. And as far as what you and I know about energy and heightened energy and lower energy, these buzzwords that we put out there, awakening, the shifting of paradigms, the rediscovering of self, it's a higher level of energy and frequency. And when we talk to people who are not so much in the know, it can be a very lonely type of journey for us and that rediscovery of self. But then they just cannot understand or actually hear what we're talking, because it's such a higher type of frequency. If you could talk about just a little bit more on your experiences of the lonely process of things.
Well, I truly believe it's lonely because, like I've told you before, I just feel the more words that you can use to describe something, the less real it is. So when we're experiencing this awakening, as we so call it, I know personally for myself, my awakening, I can't describe it in physical words. It's very hard for me to do so. And if I do, then I almost feel like I'm limiting my experience that I've been going through. Kind of like my brother says, he calls it mudifying.
Modifying.
You know?
I love that.
So you take an experience and you begin to put you attach words to it, and it gets muddy. It's not the true essence of what it originally was. And so that's just where I see that almost, I don't want to say disconnect, but just with the awakening, it's all with self, and you don't have to, as much as you want to empower people, you can empower them through verbiage. It's all on action and how you're living your life. You can't inspire people unless you are living your life the way that you truly want to be living your life.
It is. I love it. We're just talking about the, just looking through the camera here on one end, and with the candle just flickering, got the little balls on the side there. This is really like a spiritual type of thing. I mean, my phone is actually running out of battery life, but we're going to be concluding this particular broadcast rather soon, and we'll be continuing on a little bit later tonight. But yeah, just to recap of what we've been talking about. We've been talking about this grand awakening of sorts, and the grand making of this new platform that we're putting together for Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio 216, and Real Revolution Radio, which will, the intention is putting together 33 podcasting elite of authorship, of doctors, of professionals, motivational speakers, urban hip hop and R&B, and just people who might even just have a message to put out there for the masses. And the thing about it, people will not understand, but that's okay. But others will.
Yeah, and if you don't understand right now, eventually you will. Mm-hmm. It's all on your own timing. When you open yourself up to it, it'll come. It'll come.
And I just, if I was not even a part of this movement, this revolution of sorts, this awakening from within, and I were to just go through life and, you know, and just pass away, and then to look back, and then to be totally missing out on the experience. This is something that I don't want anybody to miss out.
Right.
And by having people become more aware of what is happening all around them, I don't want them to just live their life in their own world, but to live their life in interconnection with the rest of the world. And that's the thing that we have together as humanity, and that is the thing that we have lost by societal conditioning. So with that said, over and out from my end of things, my name is Joel Ayala Ayapana, registered nurse, author of the book of Positive Light, Remembrance of the Heart, and also the CEO and founder of Real Revolution Radio. And I have with me Alexis Manalo-Gamble, one of the Real Revolution revolutionaries out there that will be spearheading this movement in Cleveland, Ohio. Alexis Manalo-Gamble. Remember that name. Remember that name, because that name will be resounding through every part of the world, not only in Cleveland, but it will be resounding ever so true throughout the rest of the world, in its beginning stages of the awakening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, any last parting words for the globe that we have out there?
Well, thank you for having me. And like I said, if you are experiencing this awakening or going through something that you haven't really experienced before, really question your life and go inward, and you'll be surprised at the answers that you come across. And just enjoy the journey, and no matter what you're going through, just remember to always stay positive. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we will be tuning back in shortly. We're just going to try to juice up the camera just a little bit, and then we'll be continuing our other interviews with many of our light workers within our party here. And we will be continuing on with the revolution on RealRevolutionRadio.com.
Namaste.
Namaste. Satnam.